You know, there's that feeling you get when you're maybe on that last day of a brilliant holiday, and that little voice that starts sort of whispering in your head, you know, what if this was like for life? What if this was for real? And you know, for a lot of us, that fleeting thought, it becomes a genuine question mark as we sort of near retirement or become towards the end of our working life. And it's kind of, you know, understandable, that idea of starting a new chapter somewhere else, somewhere sunnier, you know, or just different. That's $1 million question, isn't it? Is the grass always greener on the other side? Or are we just trading one set of problems for another set of problems? Albeit with better cheese, but a bit of a language barrier. I remember when I announced I was retiring to my work colleagues for the first time, some smart aleck chirped up, "What are you going to do? You're going to piss off to Thailand and become a sex tourist?" Cue rather embarrassed laughter around the office. I mean, slightly inappropriate, let's just say that. Joking aside, I kind of get it. I mean, look at me. European white guy in his 50s, shaven head, beard, slight pot belly. Yeah, I am the stereotype of the guy you'd see walking down Pattaya, you know, Bangkok High Street or whatever, with a 20-something Thai girl on my arm. Yeah, I get it. I'm the stereotype. But if I'm brutally honest, that's, you know, I find that all a bit icky, you know, not for me. I mean, look, hey, if that's what floats your boat. I mean, good luck to Dave and his Thai bride, you know, and their sick buffalo. But yeah, it's not for me. But I get the appeal of the sunshine and the cheap living, kind of living out your holiday dreams and all of that. And to be honest, you know, Thailand certainly has been one of the places I've considered, you know, despite me mocking it, but more like North Thailand, like Chiang Mai and stuff like that, with its digital nomads, its kind of coffee shops. But again, cheap living, good food, all of that. I mean, to be honest, there are countless places in the world like that. Like, you know, Da Nang in Vietnam, Costa Rica, although as I understand that's getting quite expensive. But there are basically loads of places where you can have sunny climes, good food, cheap accommodation, cheap food, all of that. But I guess the question is, why did they really appeal? All of that, yeah? The reason I'm talking about this today is this: for a couple of years, this idea has been rattling around in my head about, you know, am I going to pull up roots, leave the UK and go and live somewhere else? And I've been through all the kind of, you know, the classic cliches. Do I go live in France, Portugal, Italy countryside? You know, you can buy a house in Sicily for £1 or €1 as long as you do it up, that kind of thing. Or to go to Thailand like Chiang Mai or Bali, or as I said, Vietnam is up and coming, all these kind of places. And as I've mentioned before in other videos, you know, Japan, because, you know, despite it being modern and okay, but not necessarily by the sea, although there are places by the sea, the yen isn't that strong, so a pound sterling is going to go a long way. What drives some of this is that every year I go to see my sister in a beautiful French house in the French countryside with a beautiful pool. And yeah, I get it, I know it's a holiday, but I know the lifestyle just seems really, really nice. And Japan appeals because, well, not just because of the Japanese ladies, please, my girlfriend is Japanese, but it just, everything works and is clean and society's polite. Look, it's not perfect, but yeah, right now compared to stuff in Britain, it's better. But all of this got me thinking, you know, why? When we fantasize about living abroad, what's the real motivation? And I'm beginning to think it boils down to one simple question. Are we running away from something, or are we running to something? We might be running from the gloomy British weather. I mean, I've been going on about what a wonderful spring and summer it is, and today it's more like, as you'll see, more like a conventional British summer. Yeah, we've had rainstorms, the odd sunny cloud here and there, but you can see behind me, yeah, the grey clouds. So despite all my optimism about British summers being incredible, yeah, it's been pretty grey the last few days. I mean, the gloomy British summertime is a national pastime, let's be honest. Or again, you know, is it just the relentless news cycle, the greyness and the miserableness of everything on the news? Are we running from that Is it the gloomy high streets of every town, which seems to consist of boarded up shops, which seems to be interspersed with vape shops, Turkish barbers, betting shops, and the odd Greggs? These sort of clone towns which are all collapsing across the UK. This urban sprawl of greyness which seems to be decaying. Yeah, look, it's not an inspiring image to be surrounded by. I'm lucky I live in the countryside. Maybe it's just the sheer predictability of it all, you know, the same routine, the same supermarket, the same food on the shelves, the same conversations in the street. It's not a bad life, but it's all a little bit beige, isn't it? So you can see the appeal of wanting to run away from all of that. I mean, I'm lucky that I'm not actually surrounded constantly by that kind of grey urban sprawl. I mean, I live in a nice little countryside village near a countryside town that's always competing for the national sort of pretty town of the year, whatever, blooming town of the year, whatever. Imagine like the town in Hot Fuzz, the movie. That's kind of where I live, with sort of Union Jack bunting across the high street and old antique stores. So yeah, but even that gets a bit bland after a while. So yeah, I get it. As my girlfriend said to me, look, it's nice. You know, she lives in London and all the greyness and the urban sprawl that has. She lives in the suburbs. She's not living in the exciting, touristy, trendy bits. But at least there's variety. Variety in the restaurants. Variety in the food stalls. Rather than the sort of the beige blandness that you get living in the English countryside. So it swings and roundabouts. You know, the great irony is, despite the sort of the bucolic, pastoral nature of this living, in itself, its blandness can be slightly claustrophobic in a weird kind of way. And when it's the winter, yeah, look, it's great during the summer, no question about it, as I said. Although today, as you can see, as I said, grey clouds surround us and there's a bit of wind. Look, I'm wearing a coat. In the winters, especially recently, climate change and all that, yeah, we're getting more heat waves, which, you know, seems great at the time on a purely personal basis, but equally our winters are less wintry. They're just grey. This winter just passed has been the wettest, greyest winter I've known in my life. Literally open the door and it's just a paintwork of grey. Yeah, the sky is grey, everything is grey, and it just felt like that for about 5 months, 6 months of winter. No snow, no sort of sunny days with frost on the floor, just wet, foggy grey constantly. I mean, just really, it's like you're living in a black and white world. So yeah, it gets very depressing in the winter time. So you can imagine how easy it is to start scrolling through pictures of the French countryside and dreaming of the Dordogne and fresh baguettes and fancy cheese and all of that when you're surrounded by grey weather and a grey environment. The appeal of kind of the cool Instagram Tokyo life that I see constantly on YouTube and Instagrams. It's all very appealing and you think, right, that's it. I'm not living here anymore. So that's all about running away. But the other side of the coin is running to something. That in itself feels more exciting, doesn't it? About pursuit, running to a new culture, maybe a new language, you know, running for a challenge. The pull of fresh food and fresh bakeries and fresh pastries from the local boulangerie, you know, finding your new favourite coffee spot or coffee bar in Tokyo or whatever it is. It's about becoming a beginner again. And I think that running to something, running to a new challenge is what is appealing. After decades of being, you know, the expert of where you live, knowing where everything is, the parent, the person with all the answers, life becomes very comfortable and easy. Going to somewhere where you are a stranger, things aren't as obvious, you aren't the expert of your local area, sort of could be potentially thrilling and exciting. When I learned to snowboard years ago up in Whistler in Canada, there was this Californian dude snowboard instructor, and he kind of said to us, hey man, you got to scare yourself at least once a day. And yeah, well, let's just put it this way. I scared myself every day learning to snowboard with that dude. In fact, there started off being about 20 of us, and on the last day there was only one person left at the top of the mountain with him, and that was me. Despite it's raining now. Yeah, the rain there. See, well, I told you I needed my coat. But yeah, the point is that surfer dude, snowboarder dude, he had a kind of point. Life can become a bit bland if it's all too easy, if it's all too comfortable, and you need to challenge yourself. So maybe like moving abroad is the big challenge that you might need. This brings me to a crucial point, that holiday point, that holiday feeling, the Christmas everyday feeling. Can a holiday really work every day? Yeah, there was a bloke called Mr. Christmas. He used to be on news items, the good news bit of the news items at the end of the day. And Mr. Christmas used to celebrate Christmas every day of his life. Yeah, he'd have a roast turkey meal every single day. That was his thing. He'd wear a Christmas jumper every single day of his life. And he was considered a bit eccentric, although nowadays we'd maybe consider that more of a mental illness, or maybe something psychologically happened to him as a youth during Christmas. I don't know. But the point is, how do you feel about Christmas if it was like every day? It wouldn't feel like Christmas, would it? And I guess that's the same with a holiday. Thank you.
I'm getting old, see. I can't run as fast anymore.
That's all right. Can you really enjoy that holiday experience every single day of your life? Reminds me of those sort of East End gangsters who have to kind of run away to Marbella, or like, Ray Winston in Sexy Beast, sort of lying underneath the hot sun every single day. I mean, is there joy in that constantly? I don't know. So that's the thing. Can you make a holiday permanent? Does the novelty inevitably wear off wearing that, Christmas jumper? Does that charming rustic village in the countryside in France with the dodgy Wi-Fi and the shop that only opens 3 hours a day, does that suddenly start to lose its appeal? Does the breathtaking view become a bit boring, as I said in that film White Mischief, not a day in paradise? As I said, I go and see my sister every year in France, but it's always during the school holidays because I'm usually taking my kids with me. And August in France, in the countryside, it is dead, yeah? Because they've all gone on holiday, or it's too hot, so they just border up all the windows with the shutters and stay indoors all day. Most of the shops are closed. It's fine if you've got a pool and then you can do stuff, but trying to find other entertainment can be a bit difficult. Really raining now. That's the great irony of me making this video. Now I'm getting well wet. As I said, for a holiday, that quiet, peaceful, shuttered life of France in August can feel quite appealing. But as a life, yeah, after the 500th time waking up at 6 a.m. on a Sunday, you might start fantasizing about a light bit of medieval vandalism with that church bell ringing every day. I guess this is where my own thoughts get a bit tangled. I already live in the UK, as I said, in the countryside. And when it's sunny, not like today, when it's sunny, it's really nice. And I get all those benefits of going to the French countryside, but I get them here and I can speak the language and I know where everything is. And in terms of my Wi-Fi, I get 100 gigs. So I'm in heaven. So going to live in the French countryside, suddenly in my head, is not such a massive leap. Obviously, there's a bit more sun, a lot more wine, and yeah, the food is probably a bit fresher, but it's not a night and day difference. I'm gonna have shelter under this tree for a minute. So the question is, am I just trying to upgrade my life for something that's, maybe gonna upgrade it by about 15%? Wow, the rain is coming down now. Welcome to the British summertime. You see that? Japan, on the other hand, wow, complete reset for me. You've got the culture, the food, the social etiquette, a new language. Everything would be brand new for me, which in itself is both terrifying and exhilarating. It's the difference between stepping into a warm bath and diving into the cold sea. Yeah, both are going to get you wet, but one's going to give you a completely different experience. Japan is an amazing country to visit, there's no question about it. But for many, it's just like a giant theme park for Japan-obsessed Westerners. And it has its own issues, but at least things work. And I can sort of manage those issues. Most of them are just bureaucratic issues, like their dependency on cash is still far greater than it is here. I like everything being contactless, but that's another issue. But at least the people are polite. The public transport is quiet and efficient and clean. It's crime-free, relatively speaking, as long as you don't mess with the Yakuza. So where does that all leave us? As he says, sheltering under this tree on a wet, miserable summer's day in England. Is the grass greener on the other side? I mean, my grass is going to be greener because of all this bloody rain. It's a cliche, I know, but it's true, isn't it? The grass always does seem greener on the other side. Moving abroad isn't a magic wand that's going to erase your problems or your personality. You know, I said I've seen enough London gangster moves to Marbella movies to know that. If you're grumpy in Coventry, you'll probably find things to be grumpy about in Marbella. You'll just be doing it with a tan. And as someone who grew up only about 10 miles away from Coventry in the 80s, yeah, I know. But I don't think it's just about running away either, though, if I'm honest. I think for many of us, it represents a conscious choice to shake things up. It's a statement that says this next chapter is not going to be a quieter, slower fade out of the last one. No way. It's going to be my own adventure. Although I see some places like Spain that become like Little Britain in the sun, with the weekly Benidorm Grand Prix of the oldies in their mobility scooters racing down to the British Lion Bar for the Sunday roast. Again, you know, whatever, knock yourself out. It's just not for me. I want a bit of an adventure. I don't want a little England just with sun. Maybe the goal isn't to capture that holiday feeling forever, yeah? Maybe the goal is to build a new, authentic life that has all its own frustrations, you know, leaky taps, confusing tax forms and all of that, but is fundamentally richer because you chose it. You chose that lifestyle because you were brave enough to ask, what if? And you went to find the answer. It's not about finding the perfect place, I think, but maybe it's about finding a place that feels more you for this next stage of your life. And for me, well, the jury's still out, to be honest. France is calling, and I shall be looking at some properties in the next few weeks, which I'll share with you. But Japan is whispering a lot in my ear with some very interesting things. Look, I love the UK, especially in the summer, no question about it. It can be beautiful in the countryside, but as I said, the winter is grey. I mean, literally and metaphorically. And as I said, I've looked at places like maybe Vietnam, and Da Nang seems quite nice. Bali, Portugal, all of these. The research continues. And next week, as I said, I'm going to go to France. I'm going to check out a few houses, and maybe I'll interview my sister, interrogate my sister. Let me know in the comments down below whether you'd like to see that. She's been living, you know, in France for a few years now. But even she comes back to Scotland, of all places, in the winter. Maybe that's just to make her realise how good it is in the summer in France. I don't know. Rain stopped a bit now. But I would absolutely love to know what you think. Is this something you dreamed of, like just pulling up sticks and going abroad? What is it you're looking for? What experience are you trying to find? Have you done this? Were you running from something, or were you running to something? Did the novelty wear off, and all of those? Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Anyway, put it in the comments down below. I really appreciate it. I always read the comments, and it's getting more and more. It's really interesting to read everybody's comments and all of that. And if you've liked the video, of course, hit the likes, because I like it, YouTube likes it, and it helps people like you find content just like this. And if you're new to my channel, then do me the great honor, please hit that subscribe button, yeah? Toggle that notification bell, might be down here. And that way you'll know when I upload videos just like this. And talking of videos just like this, he said, crossing the road, why don't you check out the videos right here, these ones here. Oh man, they're popular. You'll love them if you haven't seen them. Check them out. Thanks for watching.